I happen to have been present at a bar mitzvah of Rabbi Dovid Trenk's son many years ago, and Rav Galinsky was in town, and he spoke. He had a lot of charisma, and it was like maybe 20 minutes. I watched the Rabbeim in the mirror, rolling, and he finished. Now, who's going to speak next? None other than Rabbi Beryl Wine. And he got up and he said in English, as if there was a speech in Yiddish with singing, but it's a hard act to follow. That's how I feel right now. So therefore we need new methods of, I guess, even being maspid in order to be able to continue after the last few has faded. And I want to begin by telling you why I feel that it's min hashamayim that I'm here to share very few words with you. Only 3 hours ago, I went on what's called Oitzer HaChachma. It was said before that Torah is collected together. I was looking for one thing, and there's always a distraction. And I see a sefer, from the Javila Rebbe, and he says that he understands that there are those that are against Siyumim during the 9 days. And he says, I feel that it's totally in place because there was a rifya in Torah, Shalai Baruch Hu B'Torah Tchila, and in order to be machazik, he says, I know they hurry up to make a siyum during the 9 days. It's appropriate. And he signs off this paragraph by saying 2 Gemaras. He says it's in place to have a Suda, and he says to have wine. And he closes with 2 Gemaras. And those Gemaras are as follows. Gedola legima shemikareves es habrias. The other Gemara is, which I just scribbled in the dining room, Kol hamisyashev b'yenai. I forgot to write the hemshah. Kol hamisyashev b'yenai, it says, yesh lo midas boirei. Kainai. And I ran in my bungalow colony. There is a set of art scroll. I didn't think that Reb Gedalia was going to be here tonight. But now he has his old schedule. It's Tuesday night. And I ran to get an art scroll. And it said there that for anyone who can be appeased and overlook an injustice by drinking wine possesses attributes of his creator. Must I say more? I emailed that piece to your Petrus. And let me begin by saying that normally I would be uncomfortable speaking to such a crowd and to be maspid, to say a hesped, but I just hear a voice yelling, no matter how, all the years that I got up in camp and spoke, there was a voice that I heard right afterwards, Ami, you are great! I heard every word! The first time I said it in the main dining room, I stood up, I saw the crowd. I was not wearing a hat those days, and there was no mic on Shabbos, this is Orthodox, and I was like this the whole Devat Torah. I remember someone came over to me, it was my Rebbe later, he came over to me and imitated me. No one heard anything, I was just... And Rabbi Dovid Trenk came over to me, I heard every word, you are great! And I knew I was not, but somehow I believed it. And I agreed to say it by Torah the next year. There's another reason why I am up here, and that's because of a chazal. I didn't look up the art scroll on that. Those children resemble the brothers of their mother. I just want to share with you just a few things in the stories. It's interesting. I once brought Rabbi Pesach Krohn to the home of Rav Simcha Wasserman, and of course, the first thing he asked him was, "Could you let me hear some stories about Rabbi Chanan?" So Rav Simcha said there are times that the human being itself is great, not necessarily are the stories to tell over. In this case, Rabbi Dovid Trenk was a great man. If you observed him from the morning to the evening, you saw a keeper. Maybe one or two times that I was up early, I saw him clean up all the papers, these things. I tried to do that this past month to emulate him, and I wanted to fix the pipes also. Morning to evening. We'll get to that soon. We'll get to the annex in a moment. I just want to share with you certain things that I observed, and this is the only time that we could sing his praises without him rebelling. Even though Chazal still tell us that the Hosam Ke'imna, that he is here, his neshama is here with us. I remember days, I remember way back, I know that. No, I know that. We mentioned him too. No, I know. I saved the goodies for now. This is what I want. All right. All right. First of all, I remember I was a guest at my aunt and uncle many times. I remember Rabbi Dovid Trenk had a shul in Flatbush in the basement of Yeshiva of Brooklyn. I remember how he interacted with them. I remember certain people from there. I remember Chaim Yitzchak's Shalom Zacha. Where did he go? Oh, sorry. Rabbi Yitzchak Kleiman, Zechreina Levracha, innocently came to Chaim Yitzchak's innocently walked in to the Shalom Zacha. Now, for Rabbi Dovid Trenk, that Rabbi Yitzchak Kleiman came to his Shalom Zacha. And this is what I observed. This young boy there up in the stand, he walked in. You may sit down. There was no guzma in what I did. That was exactly how he greeted him. And these are things I saw, and it was very entertaining for me. But years later, I was in the Mir Yeshiva. Upstairs was a window, the window of the library. And I look down, and I see a certain scene. Rabbi Dovid Trenk walked in, he had to speak to someone. He walked in to the Beis Medrash in the middle of Seder. He had to speak to someone. And this is what I saw from the window. Well, checking out. Everybody, it was a volcano erupted. Everyone got out of their seats and ran over in the middle of Seder. No, they weren't sitting in their seats, they ran up to him. Come on. They ran over to him. Let's go. And we shook everyone's head like this, and then he ran out. He had to pick up, he ran out, ran back, and he ran out. And I remember I called my father, and I shared with him this scene. And he told me, I remember he said, this is quite a number of years ago. He was Dovid Trenk was in Philadelphia. He came in one time, and I said, Abba, I watched from the window, and everybody jumped out of their seats to say hello to him. And he said to me, he is one of the most beloved people. This is not Acharim Vayis Kedoshim. When he was alive, he is one of the most beloved people. And it was like a total different perspective that I had till now. Everything was entertaining and wonderful. I looked at him a different way. Let me share this very few stories with you. I knew it was true, but I just happened to bump into a nephew of the Baal HaMaisa up the road. The mashgiach of the mayor was of Tzvi Hersh Feldman, Zechreina Levracha. The Trenks, all three Trenks, were very close to him. He was nifter. An ill. You don't leave the mashgiach. There's an almana. You have to take care of the almana. So it might be a small thing. It's not a small thing. Who would think of this? It was everything again, as you see. I like to do things hands-on. I wasn't going to bring milk after we had such a siyum. Every day, I don't know how many, it was a container of milk that was delivered to the almana of Reb Hirsch Feldman. Do you hear me in the back? I want you to hear this. There was a container of milk delivered. It was all the way down the steps. She was a Balas Madrega. You know how many steps there were? It was the Milky Way. I would say 25 steps, maybe more. As we know, Rabbi Dovid Trenk woke up early. He had a richas yamin. He would wake up early and take the milk without announcing anything and bring it upstairs to the top floor. Fine, wonderful. One day, Rabbi Dovid Trenk, it happens, I think he went to Adelphia that morning. So he said to a good friend of his, do me a favor, I have to go. I can't be around Flatbush at that time. The milk is delivered. This day the milk is delivered. Could you please just take it upstairs and leave it by the door? He said, sure. Sure enough, this individual carried up this container of milk till the top. All of a sudden, the door opens. Rebbitzin Feldman greets this individual and says to him, now I know who was doing it all this time. And I figured it had to be an anicle of the Chofetz Chaim. Did I say more? I always said, people have said, privately, people called me and said, there were no exaggerations that was said. I remember I used to talk to Rabbi Aaron Goldman about Rabbi Dovid Trenk. I mean, it would sound like we're talking, like you say, Achrei Ma'is Kadosh. The same things are said as we just showed. To Denver, a boy who he sent to Denver, he received a phone call, not doing that great, flew to Denver, spoke to him and flew back. Okay, just about over. Shabbos afternoon, spoke about Reb Josh. He would come every Friday night. He sat there. He sat over there, I think. Ka'avda Kamei Mora and listened to Josh's speech Friday night. Every Friday night. I want to end with two things. Just a bracha, with a bracha. I just want to say one line of Navi, and I have to give credit. Oh, I'm sorry. Only two cards, don't worry. Rabbi Dovid said that everyone had his vart, that he had specifically for that person. I think it was a situation where a family member was not well, and he said over the Ksaf Sofer says that why did Moshe Rabbeinu say such a short tefillah, Kelma Rafan Allah? And he said, because it's very difficult for one to feel for someone who they don't know. It's very hard. It's a pretty big avodah. The closer the person is, a relative, one doesn't have to be at Nisamitz B'tfila. Kelma Rafan Allah is sufficient. Because the feeling is there for a family member. I have to give credit, it's Navi. My wife said to depict Rabbi Dovid Trenk, I haven't noticed passing, it happens to be my bar mitzvah, Haftarah. David HaMelech got very excited to dance in front of the Aron. And it's interesting that the expressions that I use are different. It's a different, as we know, each Navi has a different sprach, as we say, a different lashon. And the Navi said, and in Shmuel it says that he danced before the Aron V'Dovid mecharker b'chol oiz, charkar, b'chol oiz, with all his might. And a few seconds later, mifazes, which you don't find umecharker. I looked at Artscroll. Leaped. He leaped. Now, you have to learn that parsha well. Michal took exception. This is not the way I was brought up. But this depicts, this is the David. That when it comes to his avodah, whatever it is, dancing before the Aron, dancing before a person, dancing before his mother, sister, mechar, wife, mecharka. I want to just end with a tefillah. Everybody speaks beautifully at Tisha B'Av. I still come back, even if it's chazara. But his speech, everyone was Makayim, everyone was Yair Demais when he spoke. And I just want to share with you an irrational feeling that I had. I would just stare at him the whole time during his speech. And I used to think to myself, how is it that the emotion of the person, such an Oyev Yisrael, when he would talk about the Nazis as two particular ones, that Russia! How did he even have such an emotion to talk against something? It's a silly machshava, but that made the Tisha B'Av. I'm sorry. Everybody's drasha was wonderful, but that, you were Yair Demais. You cried. You couldn't help crying by the last kinner. So I just say, sorry if I cry a little bit, it's in the family. The Rabbi Shalom took from us someone who made us so happy. I'm sorry, I forgot to mention, he would sit on the annex porch with his wife. As far as the halacha Moshe Sinai, he was blocked off. But anybody who passed or in the OD hut, he would call them over and tell them all about what his great-grandfather did in camp, as if it was yesterday. The reason why I'm able to recall the thing that I did is because I have his memory. I have it from both sides. It's a gift. He was with some people with his memory. And he would tell them things that the kids just felt great. Look what he remembers about my father, grandfather, great-grandfather. I think it stopped there. And Rabbi Shalom took away from us. Someone taught us how to mourn. Isn't it time for Mashiach to come? And the answer is yes. Let us witness it.